Hello everyone and welcome to a wonderful new and special spooky episode of the StudioMEcast. We are conjoining with the horror Sci-fi Pittsburgh 48-hour film project this year. And what we're doing is we have a screening for the Best of and Awards Night coming up on the 29th of October. You can get your tickets to that in the description below. And leading up to that, we are talking to members from the teams that are going to be screening at the Best of and the Awards Night. And today we have Filmmaker's finest. We have Jarrod Joos, who's the writer, director, and lead actor. And we have Alex Cronin, who's the cinematographer of the team. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, Jarrod, you and I were talking a bit before that you've done a bunch of these.
Yeah.
Right? So have you and Alex worked a lot together before?
Yeah, we work pretty much almost exclusively with each other. We met back in college. He was in for videography, right?
Digital media.
Digital media. He was in for digital media. I was in the acting troupe while I was there as well, and we had a common friend and interest, and then we got together and we were like, we should try some film stuff. So, me as an actor and him as a videographer, and the year after we got out of college was the year we heard about the 48. So back in 2013, and we were like, yeah, we think we can do this. This sounds doable. We were almost right. That was a long time ago. We did turn it in, and
congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
We were so naive. But it was okay, and we've gotten better since. But yeah, we work. We do it almost every year. I think we missed a couple years that we didn't do it together, but in those interims, I usually find my own team. He's the one that usually has to travel or has scheduling conflicts with the 48. So,
okay. Well, fantastic. So for the 48, every year there's a bunch of requirements that all teams have to adhere to. This year it was the line of dialogue, I learned the secret long ago.
Yes.
Is that correct? For a prop, you all had to use an adhesive bandage, I believe it was. And then you had a character, Sean or Shauna.
Sean or Shonda Taker. Skater.
He was a skater. But you also had everybody gets two genres to pick from. Each team gets their own two genres to pick from. So what were the genres you drew, and which was the one that you ended up taking?
So everyone gets a sci-fi and a horror. Our sci-fi draw was, I think it was First Encounter or something along those lines. Alien-based, I remember. The other one was comedy horror, and that was what we went with. I don't think First Encounter was even really in consideration because comedy horror is sort of our bread and butter, so we couldn't have asked for a better draw.
It's definitely a more gleeful genre to go with, and
it's a very wide genre. You can do any other subgenre of horror within it, so I liked the freeness.
Absolutely. And that led to Out of Bodies Experience, which is your film that's going to be screening on the 29th. So that's wonderful. Are you up for any awards?
Yeah, we're up for a number. We're up for, there was a Diversity and Inclusion Award, Best Hair and Makeup, Best Lead Male Actor, that's me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Best Female Lead Actress for Christina Krakowski. And then we also were up for Best Ensemble, and Best Film.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
Save the best for last, I guess. Yeah, there we go.
Just making sure I didn't forget anything
else.
else.
Well, that's wonderful. So you went with horror comedy.
Yeah.
All right. And was that, how many people were on your team?
This year I wanted to have a larger team. We usually run pretty lean and mean, but on a team I was on recently, not my own, they had a larger team, and I really liked the functionality of it, and I thought I'd try something different. So we ended up with a total of 18 team members.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was very compartmentalized, though. A significant portion of those people were working sound or lights, or they all had very, very specific roles.
Mm-hmm. Now, for the roles you had, you were writer, director, and lead actor.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, and the way I certainly like to work is that your closest companion during production is your cinematographer or director of photography. And when you're on screen as the actor and you're directing, can you talk to me about, like both of you, about the dynamic that you have working together and how maybe your experiences leading up to this helped inform that maybe?
Yeah, well, I am the director. Alex, however, has the eye very much. I rely on him so much for visual presentation because I get the big picture pretty well, but Alex is the details guy, and that comes really in hand on set because he's also the camera op. And yeah, if he says this is how this is going to have to look, I'd say yeah, I bet it is 100%.
Now, when Alex, you for your role in the 48, and I know that the 48 can be different from a lot of different shoots and all that, but are you coming up with your vision for that once the script is done during the writing process? Or are you running and gunning it? How do you operate for the 48?
Generally, as the script is getting made, Jarrod usually throws me some, hints to where he's going for. I start to think about it, you know what I mean? Friday night where we're going through it, and as soon as the script's finished, then I start to really think through it, like, well, what is this going to look like? How is it going to feel? You know what I mean? But pretty much, run and gun after that, since it's, we're running out of time, Try to get a couple hours of sleep Friday night, maybe. Not really.
Well, that brings up my next question, which is, when did y'all, is the writing process like you just go off and write, or is there a writing room that's like throwing ideas around and then it's typed up? How did it go Friday night once you got all the requirements?
More or less, I just go off on my own and write. If I'm struggling at any point, I usually hit up the group chat. I get some ideas pinged off of me to see if anything jogs anything loose. But it's more or less, I lock myself away for a couple of hours and then come back. Yeah, I think this one came out real quick. It was like, I think the final script was done at 11 p.m. Friday.
Oh, wow.
And it took me like an hour to get home from the kickoff, too. So
wow, okay.
Like a 3-hour turnaround.
Whole hour, yeah. All right. And then when did you get your first take?
Later than we wanted to. Our call time was, I think, 5 a.m. for crew, 6 a.m. for cast. It was over at a location in the north side. And I think the first take, we were using a drone, and we had to get it set, and we also had to wait for traffic to clear because we were shooting outside. But that was like 11:30 a.m., which is, 5 hours after what the call time was. But we also needed significant makeup done.
Right, and you were getting makeup done while you were setting up for the first shot then? Or? Yeah, that's good.
You also walked around and see where all of the rest of our shots were.
We had to set the rest of them there. We had a pretty great location. We wanted to make sure that we utilized it. Because when I was writing it, I was writing it in vagaries of
like where it would
exactly it would be. I knew that we had a location with many, many rooms. I knew that it used to be a school, so it sort of still had that look about it, and those just general amenities as well. So I knew those were all things I could include, but I didn't sit down and think specifically this room, specifically that room, or anything. So while they were working on makeup, we did a tour around, and we set each set, and then we came back outside, and we had to wait for people to clear because we were shooting bunch of people running, and
don't want to freak people out.
Yeah, and that actually did happen a little bit. There was a couple of times where someone would be just down the street a little bit, and they'd look up very concerned as to what we were running from. But yeah, for the most part, it was okay. I think we only needed like 6 or 7 takes from that one.
Yeah, maybe not even that many.
That's good. I like that. I don't want to give too much away for people who hopefully be going to the screening on the 29th at the Oaks Theater. Get your ticket in the description below. Thank you, audience. There's I do like it when a 48 opens with a killer shot, or like early on has something that grabs you, because that's something that I've seen as a trend, that like a good thing for particularly 48 shorts that like go on to Filmapalooza a lot of the time, is whether it's the first shot or like it's the first kind of like beat of the film. They'll have some kind of wow thing, whether it's, you know, a drone shot or a visual effect or some kind of, you know, something. And I thought that it was I liked your opening, because a lot of the time I see people, it's not as much as it used to be, where people, once drones became available, you just say, oh, this is the drone shot or whatever, you know, and it was always the same kind of shaky like thing. But I like that the way that you utilized that was very justified. It drew people in immediately. It was like, oh, okay, what's going on here, you know, and it really set things up in a really dramatic way that I thought was very effective. So did you, while you were writing, did you have that idea for the drone initially? Like you knew you had that tool set?
Yes, I did. Our sound and light guy, Chauncey, has a drone, and he told me going into it, so I kept that in mind, because 100% agree with what you were saying. It has been a recent trend lately of just grabbing that very killer opening shot, usually drone related, and because it's just so nice to have as an option for an establishing shot.
Something
you usually
with
want something very wide,
scope,
and and I knew that we would probably use it for an establishing shot, and like you said, I wanted to set it off very dramatically, because I think that would make the funny parts funnier when you set it up, so that it seems terrifying at first until you realize what you're diving into.
Yeah, that's great. So when you're putting a scene together, then, because you had a lot of different elements here, with like you had some visual effects going on throughout the project as well. Is it usually that you kind of set up, you go through the scene with the actors and do blocking, and Alex, you're there and you kind of figure out how it's going to be shot, or like what's the process that you go through for setting up the scene together?
For the visual effects shots that we had in our film, you know, where, you know, essentially the same actors in the same shot, it's a little bit of imagination, you know what I mean? You have to leave, like, and I also just move the camera back wider than I should have for most of the shots. You know, I expected to, you know, crop in a little bit, you know what I mean? But
sorry, what were you shooting on, by the way?
What was I shooting on? I was shooting on an FX30.
Okay, great.
But yeah, so really just kind of left room for the effect, essentially, for most of our things. But we did, you know, some little blocking, you know, just to make sure that they, like most actors, knew where their sight lines were, where they should look, where they shouldn't look, you know what I mean? A little bit, but nothing extreme.
Have you, I'm interested in this because so much of compositing and post-production is reliant on the footage you have and having a director of photography who's setting things up the right way. Have you had a lot of experience before with integrating visual effects in with the shots that you do, like before this project?
I've had some experience, not a great deal, I would say, but you know, just pretty much 48s, random little shorts that we've put together with some special effects, but nothing crazy, you know.
Well, fantastic.
I usually do try to throw things at him just out of 48s, just say, hey, if I wanted to do this particular effect, do you think he could do it? Yeah, I could do that. And I keep all those in mind. In fact, the specific effect that we're referring to for this one, I asked him maybe 2 months before. I said, "What about if we wanted to do this?" He was like, "Yeah, no, we could do that." And then I kept that in mind, and yeah, we ended up doing that. To great effect, I think.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays that effect is a couple clicks away from being perfect. You know what I mean? Like After Effects beta, you know what I mean? It has like rotoscope, just kind of run through it pretty quick. You know what I mean? Just a couple clicks and it gets pretty close. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that hard.
Yeah, and you have a ghost element to your story as well, which really is nice to utilize that with the visual effects of it and just bring these awesome tools that we have as filmmakers together to tell the story. I knew at least a few of the people in your cast as well, just from other, just projects around and all that. So that was cool. How was working with Christina?
Oh, great. She actually does all of ours.
Oh, fantastic.
We have her on on sort of a good faith retainer for 48s. She always gives us first pass, at least. But yeah, she's great. I met her, I think, working on a film like 10 years ago or something, and she really liked working with us, and she kept coming back.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I met her years ago. A friend of mine was doing his first feature, and I think I was like running sound for a day or something like that. And it was one of those sets where there was some downtime for the role that I had anyway on set. And but yeah, she was there, and it was a cool conversation. But it's nice to see the people who remain active in the independent scene, like yourselves, doing so many of these 48s, and the other projects that you do outside of that. So we've got, but let's talk a bit about, you went with horror comedy, right? You brought zombies and ghosts together.
Yeah.
Right? Cool idea. How'd that come about?
I really like genre blending. I don't like sticking into one particular genre. I like to mix it up, because I think that's where you get the best interactions. I feel like strict genres, everything has been done more or less in each of these, so you have to start throwing them together. And zombies in particular, I've always had this idea that they would mess up any other horror genre you would put them into. Something would always not be quite right if you threw zombies into the mix.
Yeah. They take up a lot of room.
They are a force to be reckoned with. A couple years ago, we did one that was our genre pools for the Horror 48 was zombies and aliens, and we did both. And we did what if, aliens observing humans encountered zombies, and how would that go? But I thought that one went really well, and I kind of liked the concept, and I thought, well, this would definitely be sort of awkward to see, how a ghost would be interacting with a zombie, which could lead to comedy.
Absolutely. I thought it was a cool idea. I like it when people do genre blending. That's a good observation about zombies kind of breaking a lot of other genres or situations. Do y'all have a favorite zombie film?
Favorite zombie film? Not really. 28 Days Later is a really good one, but
probably tops my list too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was in charge of your makeup? Because anytime you do zombies, it's great to have someone who's doing the makeup, and one of the tricks with zombies is not that, oh, this person needs a lot of makeup, but you often have a lot of people that need a lot of that.
Julia Sells was our lead makeup artist's name, and she had an assistant on as well, which was fortunate because, like you said, we needed a lot of makeup done. Both of their talent was top-notch. I was so impressed. It was actually the first time I had met her when we started shooting, but I had seen some of her work and photos and stuff, but I was so impressed with how the zombies turned out, and their turnaround time was also very impressive, which was great because we needed to shoot this in a very specific progression for the actors who were playing multiple stages of death. And we had to wait for those actors to be done before we could move on. You know, pretty much every actor was in every scene, more or less. So, you know, but their turnaround time was great. You know, we didn't have to slow production down much for makeup at all, and it ended up looking fantastic.
Now, for the one visual effects shot, you have you and Christina as zombies, all right, and then you go and then you see you and Christina as ghosts, right? So that's two different faces of makeup, well, technically four, right, back to back. Did that moment inform the order that you shot everything?
Unfortunately, yes. That was probably our greatest hurdle through the entire thing was we had to shoot it in the very specific progression from being alive to being a ghost to being a zombie because of how the makeup got piled on. Technically, we could have done it other ways, but it would have had to require removing makeup and then putting more makeup on.
Right.
So that dictated how we needed to shoot it, and I don't really care for the script dictating to me how I'm going to shoot something. But and then the hard part about that was the zombies who were zombies the entire time were in full makeup the entire day because we needed them for the very first shot, and we needed them for the last few as well.
Right.
So they were real champs because it was intense makeup. It was, I mean, just fully face covered in latex and paint. And the one actor, well, actually both actors had blackout contact in as well.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And
yeah, I thought I saw something like that. I was
kept
like,
those in all day too.
Good
Yeah.
for them.
Very committed to the bits they were.
Nice. Wow, all day with those. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. That's something that I think people kind of accept, that being in that kind of heavy makeup all day can be tough, but until you are in it, it's kind of hard to imagine. Just like, yeah, it can get like weirdly claustrophobic or irritate. It's like it's like if it gets itchy, you can't do anything about it. You're like, I just scratched through it. It's like, you know, it's a lot to deal with. But that's where you have people who, you know, some people hate it, and some people are like, I'm just so happy to be in a film. This is I'm a zombie today. You know, this is rad.
Yeah, fortunately they were real troopers about it, but I did feel really bad. And honestly, it wasn't even the time constraints of the 48 that made me feel rushed during shooting it. It was the I don't want them to be sitting in this torturous makeup for a minute longer that was pushing me through the shoot.
There was one short that I did that had a lot of faces of makeup that also had a certain progression of time where it's like you see this guy beat up and then you see like it's been a few weeks and he's healed up and all that, but we had to shoot the scenes completely out of order. And so I felt terrible on that. The makeup department did an amazing job, but like we kept it, all right, you need to take that off. All right, now we need the second one that you did, but like time has passed, and it's insane what makeup artists do, you know, for films. And I feel like something that gets a little like the unsung part of makeup in film. It's like we hear about the zombies, or like when a boxer gets destroyed, or when Gary Oldman plays Winston Churchill or something like that. But just the makeup in just the conversations where it's like they're not really destroying the person or anything. It's like that's the thing that it adds so much to films. And it's often, particularly with independent low budget things, it's something that a lot of people don't give as much consideration to, I guess. And maybe it's because they don't necessarily know a whole lot about it. I don't know what it is, but it can be hard to find someone who will do it. But I think it's great that y'all are nominated for your makeup and hair.
Yeah.
So that's congrats again on that. Your team definitely earned that one.
I agree.
Especially with the context. That's no joke. That's good stuff there.
That was even beyond the zombies. For the ghost makeup was also just I think, if anything, that may have even impressed me more because, like you said, it was more subtle, but like I looked dead. When I saw myself, I was concerned for my own health.
It's really easy for like those dark eyes to look kind of like Heath Ledger Joker, like with a cutoff. But yeah, they really blended things nicely for that. That's
good.
That's excellent. Now, what was the last shot that you got?
I think the last one chronologically?
I think it was the last shot. Or do we go back?
Yeah, we
it can be hard to remember.
It was not the very it was the second to last shot was what it was. The second to last scene was our last shot. Because it was a filler. I had realized about 2 scenes before we started our last shot, there was a bit of a discrepancy. I didn't have anything to match the very final shot with the scene before it, and I didn't realize that until we were about to shoot it, and I very quickly just wrote a very small filler inside, and that was the last thing we ended up shooting.
Awesome. And when did y'all start post-production?
Well, technically, we started post-production before we were done with production.
Good. Excellent. That's, tell me about that.
You would know more.
Yeah, well, we just, our editor was on set. He just took my footage and just started cutting it down.
While you were shooting still. That's the secret sauce right there. That's the way to do it.
He definitely got us, ahead of time. And then he worked throughout the night and got us more of a rough cut. And the next morning, we had some issues with it, but we figured it out. You know what I mean? It was just, he uses Final Cut. I use Premiere. There's always that issue. You know what I mean? Of like getting it from one to the other. You know what I mean? And then I had to sync audio, which also became a handful. But other than that, it was pretty nice.
Well, fantastic. And when did you turn the film in? How much time did you have?
What's the smallest amount of time there is? No.
Not a lot.
I think technically it was like 8 minutes to spare. I think it was 8 minutes to spare, but we wanted to submit a second one in as well. That was just our first draft, and I think we got maybe. I think that one. Did we get a second one in? No, we didn't even get the second one in. We didn't make it in time.
Oh wow!
But we had a few changes we wanted to throw in there. It was mostly audio. That was we did not really do our audio department justice. We gave them, I think, 2 to 3 hours to do their entire job, and I felt really bad about that one too, because they had some absolute fire that I had heard them working on throughout the day. Soundtrack, sound effects, it all sounded just absolute top shelf, and I just did not give them the time to put all of it in there. We tried to put it in and then resubmit, but missed it.
Well, it really compounds as at the end as it goes by. Now, so let's see. Congrats on getting it in on time. Congrats on your nominations as well. And I want something that I'm asking everybody with this preface to it is every 48, you learn something, you get more experience. Sometimes it takes a few days for you to digest it and figure out exactly what you got out of it, I guess. Is there anything, and you've done a lot of these, but is there anything in particular that came out of this one that, it's like one reason why we do the 48 is to become better filmmakers and it's fun, right? But it's a lot of fun. What did y'all learn this time?
I would say one thing I pulled out of it is maybe have be a little bit stricter towards the beginning of a shot. Sometimes our crew is a little bit like we're a bunch of friends just hanging out for the first time in a little bit of a time. It's been like half a year since we saw each other, like all together. You know what I mean? So we tend to joke and goof off a bit, but like. Again, when you're like syncing sound in post and you're like staring at this like head of shot, that's just us goofing off, you know what I mean? It can be kind of annoying, but just to be a little bit stricter on roll, you know what I mean? Like, get everybody, like, going into the shot, like, quicker, you know what I mean? Quicker turnaround on the shot itself, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right.
I think we really learned that we need more projects where we're not time restricted. We, like I said, we had so much cool things that we didn't even get a chance to throw in here, and I couldn't help but think that, like, man, if we weren't time restricted, this would have been even better. This would have been so cool. I would have loved to have seen what we were capable of outside of these the constraints of the contest. So yeah, I mean, like you said, it just kind of inspires me to do more filmmaking then.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I'd say it looks like it's just about that time for us to sadly go. But thank you so much for being my guests today here. And I'm looking forward to the screening this weekend. So have fun storming the castle with your nominations and all that. And yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to Jarrod Joos and Alex Cronin from Filmmaker's Finest with their short film, The Out of Bodies Experience. So make sure you all check that out on Saturday and, Sunday, yeah, on the 29th. And you've heard it a billion times, but get your tickets. Do it. Don't get them at the door. Get them in advance. I think they're cheaper or something. I don't know. But yeah, all right. Well, fantastic. And with that, have a good one, everybody. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to start your own podcast, why wait? Reach out to us at StudioME.me, and I hope you hear me again soon.